Computer. Welcome to Spenny and the Nets, episode 249. Thanks for joining the show as we move forward with your favorite Brooklyn Nets podcast. I'd like to get more Nets fans on this show. Obviously, we've had former players, broadcasters, media members, personalities from Nets Twitter. Everybody's been on this show except the people that bring life to this organization. And that is why I'm joined today by a big Brooklyn Nets fan, Aaron Carr. Aaron, welcome to the show, brother.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. To give you a quick little background, grew up a huge basketball guy. Growing up in upstate New York, Albany, I was affiliated with a CBA team, the Albany Patroons, back from the '80s when Phil Jackson was a head coach, George Karl, Mario Elie, Scott Brooks. We had all these great guys that ended up in the pros. So grew up originally a Sixer fan. Then I realized how bad the franchise was, the executive management team. And when I moved to New Jersey after college, was living with my best friend from college, Kevin Connors, who's now an anchor on ESPN. And he was the Jersey sports guy, and he had to go to every Jersey sporting event. And we used to go to Nets games, and I used to have to hold the microphone, and that was, it bled into different eras. But when I got to go to a college, my first NCAA tournament game in Albany, New York, got to see Villanova and Old Dominion go for 4 overtimes, led by Kerry Kittle. So when Kerry went to the Nets, it seemed to be an easy segue, and always liked Kerry's game. And when I decided to settle in New Jersey, I said, I really want this because I hope I get to have a child someday and fall in love and the whole thing. And then the New Jersey Nets could be my team. We see how that worked out. But I can't be a Knicks fan. I simply can't. So I stick with the Nets through thick and thin.
It's a good origin story. A lot to take in there. Number one, it's funny that you talked about how, you hope to have a kid in Jersey because that's where the Nets played. Then they moved to Brooklyn. They totally foiled your plan.
They spoiled the plan, but they're always the team in the tri-state with a little more edge. I always appreciated that. The Knicks, you got to be one of the pretty ones, one of the cool people. And I don't know how really cool they are. So I'm a Jets fan, so I stick with my teams through thick and thin. So the Nets just make sense.
Well, we welcome any Knicks bashing on this podcast. We actually applaud it. So I appreciate that. You talked about Albany and the NCAA tournament game that you went to over there.
Mm-hmm.
We got a big one tonight. We're recording at 8:47 p.m. on Monday night. We got UConn against Michigan in the finals. That's going to be happening in the next 5 minutes. Who do you like in that game?
So, disclaimer. I have a futures bet on UConn to win the tournament at 24-1.
Wow.
Okay. I am rooting for UConn, and I haven't decided if I'm going to take the cash out offer yet. I probably should, but I've done a hedge. I've already hedged the bet. So, I'm guaranteeing myself a profit, but it's been an exciting, fun run. I think Michigan's size is too much for UConn. I think the guard play is comparable. I think Michigan has better ball handling. UConn has better size in the front court. Caravan gets moved all over the floor. I like him. But that center from Michigan, I don't think Reed can handle him down low. And Luxembourg, we'll see how much he's going to give and whatnot. And Michigan's depth's a little hurt. I think there's too much size up front. That's just going to be a problem for UConn.
Yeah, well, I'll say this because everyone listening Tuesday, the game will have already happened. So if UConn wins, I mean, what an organization, what a coach, Dan Hurley. He's the best in college sports. That'd be 3 championships in 4 years. So congratulations to UConn for winning the national championship. And if it's Michigan, kudos to you guys. My cousin Zoe went to Michigan. She's awesome. We like Michigan a lot. I think I like Michigan more than Michigan State. So yeah, congratulations to Michigan for winning it all and doing the upset.
I'm not allowed to root openly for Michigan. I married a Hoosier, so I'm not
shoot.
allowed.
All right. Well, in that case, apologies to your wife if Michigan wins it all.
That's okay. That's okay. I've always, from the Fab Five days. It's great to see the Fab Five back together. By the way,
yeah.
I was a Fab Five guy. Being in the suburbs of upstate New York and seeing these guys, black socks, baggy shorts. That kind of changed my thinking about culture and basketball and whatnot. So I've always appreciated Michigan. It's a cool campus, a great little town. The best little known fact for some, not many, the best Jewish deli west of the Mississippi, Zingerman's Deli.
Michigan.
It's known, it's notorious. It
Wow.
is phenomenal.
Okay.
Phenomenal. Best
All
Jewish
right.
deli.
Zimmerman's.
Zingerman's.
Zingerman. All right. Next time
Ask
I'm in,
cousin Zoe about it. Ask cousin Zoe.
I got to ask cousin Zoe about Zingerman's. All right. And I want to shout out before we stop talking about college hoops. My wife, Victoria, she did win the bracket. I don't know how she did it, but she got the money, first place for Victoria. So shout out to you, babe. Way to go. Yeah, it doesn't matter what happens in the championship. She needed Michigan to
You in
beat
the
who
semi?
yeah, she needed Michigan to beat was it Michigan beat Arizona, right?
Michigan beat Arizona.
Yeah, so she needed that to happen. She's good. We're all good there. So we're celebrating in this house regardless
That's
of the
nice.
outcome tonight. All right, let's get into some Nets talk. I got a
Please.
standings and record update. So the Nets are currently, drum roll please, 19 and 59. It's the third worst record behind the Wizards and the Pacers. Aaron, how are you feeling about this current Net squad?
Here's some of the notes that I've made about this team, and I've watched more so the last 7 to 10 games. I actually like what the coach is doing with the team, the coach's relationship. He's actually focused on player development more so than other coaches in the past. I wasn't a huge Jacques Vaughn guy, to be honest, respecting his playing ability, respect his career in the system. I never felt the fire in the belly. I never felt the competitive spirit. I like what Fernandez is trying to do, but my whole problem, my issue with the Nets is more about the front office. They're assembling this roster with no story to tell. There's no consummate story. There's no plan. There's no joie de vivre. It's simply just an island of misfit toys, and it seemed it hasn't gotten any better in the last few years. So I do like some pieces on this team that we're seeing this year, but there's no story to tell. There's no consistency. There's no game plan from game, set game plan from game to game, and look in the NBA, you can't win without what I call a placeholder player. Tim Duncan was a placeholder player. Steve Nash, placeholder player. We're seeing one in Cooper Flag. You know what you're getting from them every night at the highest level. And the Nets don't have it, and they haven't had it for years. When they mortgaged the future for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, that set them back a decade. It shouldn't have, but it has, and it's kept going.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot has transpired since then. You think about those teams after the Pearson KG years that were so horrible. The Nets had no draft picks, so they
No,
were terrible at basketball, and you couldn't look ahead to the youth. So Sean Marks comes in. They build this kind of makeshift team of guys that have been cast aside, like the D'Angelo Russells, the Spencer Dinwiddies. You see some success out of that, right? You get to the playoffs, you get smoked by Philly in round one. All of a sudden, we get the big three experience. KD and Kyrie come in, you trade for James Harden. And then now we find ourselves in a place similar to where we were after the Pearson KG years, but you have some hope because of the draft picks. Now, I want to talk about the five rookies
mm-hmm.
because there's really no one else on this roster to talk about. To me, Michael
Fair.
Porter Jr., he might be here in the next few years. He might not be. Nick Claxton, we have seen the
Yeah.
best of Nick Claxton. He is
Yeah.
not getting better at basketball. So,
Agreed.
so take
Agreed.
that for what you will. And then Noah Clowney, to me, 3 years with the Nets, he's been a bit of a disappointment. I don't see him elevating his game that much more than he is now. So
Can I
that,
tell you what I see with those guys? Can I tell you what I
yeah.
see? I see a lot of raw athletic talent. I don't see enough craft. Whether you're in advertising or a musician or in fashion, to succeed, you have to have native craft on top of your ability. I don't see craft with these players. I just don't
I,
see it with those guys.
I think that's a fair assessment. So if I'm a Nets fan, I'm looking at those three veterans. I'm not super hopeful for the future because what are you building with those three guys? So then
Sure.
we look ahead to the rookies. Five rookies in round one for Sean Marks. Jaeger Joman, Nolan Traore, Drake Powell, Ben Surratt, and Danny Wolf. So who do you like? Who do you not like as much? What do you think of these top five or these five rookies that the Nets have taken, and how they've played this year?
I like Traore for the upside. I think he's got a unique skill set. He's got some size matchup potential. Plus, he's actually shooting the ball pretty well compared to other rookies. He brings that European style to the game. It's good to see France, the French culture and influence in Brooklyn. It could use a little bit. I think Danny Wolf has a chance to be a really solid complementary player in this league. I think with his size, his angular game, he's got that lefty angular game and the ability to shoot from the outside. I could see him being a very valuable sixth, seventh, eighth man in this league. Past that, I see, again, a lot of raw talent, a lot of raw athletic ability, some decent ball handling skills in the league. But I don't see any pure shooters on the team. I don't see a lot of shooting skills. I'm not overwhelmed really by anyone's ability to score the basketball with simple shooting. So that's some of what I see. I see, these players like Powell and whatnot came from these decorated programs, Malachi Smith, UConn, Powell, North Carolina. These guys don't stay in school long enough to show you that a lot of that defined skill. And I think it's showing. The results are showing on the floor. But I think Traore has some really interesting upside. And I think Wolf has the ability to be a tremendous complementary, a very solid, valuable complementary player in this league. Past that, I don't see much.
Yeah, you talked about, a placeholder player earlier, how the Mavs have one with Cooper Flag. I think the 76ers have one with VJ Edgecombe. I think he's going to be a star. I think the disappointing thing if you're a Nets fan is you took five guys in the first round, and I don't think that any of them are guarantees to be a stud in this league.
No.
Traore has upside, sure, but there's a lot of flaws in his game. If he's going to be the point guard, he's got to be a better floor general, limit the turnovers. Yeah, he can shoot the three a little bit, but I want to see him take his offensive game to the next level. There's still some holes there. Danny Wolf had some great moments this year, also had some clunkers. He's a step slow on defense. I think guys kind of view him as a cone right now. But I do like his upside a lot. I think out of those five guys, I think Danny Wolf has the highest IQ. After those two guys, we get into Jaeger Joman, and I think Nets fans wanted this dude to be good so badly that every time he did the smallest, slightest good thing on the basketball court, which wasn't that often, Nets fans would have a fucking parade. And it drove me nuts because there's so many other rookies this year. And a guy like Cedric Coward, who's doing it night in, night out for the Grizzlies. I know I'm missing some other guys that were Jeremiah Fears is having a pretty good year in New Orleans for the Pelicans. He was a guy I really wanted the Nets to look at. The dude from Texas, I think it's Trey Jones on Washington. He can be a player in the future, but to me, the Nets, they didn't trade up. They had picks. They could have maybe traded in that top seven. They chose not to. They stuck with Jaeger. And I to me, he's looked like at the very best, Peja Stojakovic, because he can hit the three a little bit. But I have not seen. I was sold on this playmaking wing who would make his teammates better. And I just did not see it this year. And I get it. He's a rookie. Obviously had the what's the plantar fasciitis, so he's out for the rest of the year. We're not going to be able to see him in the last five meaningless games. But he is a guy that I was a little bit underwhelmed by Jaeger's rookie year.
I think that's fair. These are examples when these guys come in from Europe, you can't really always project how they adjust to the American game from the European and how they work in different systems. But I think it's a growing pain. He might strike me as someone who's a bit on the immature side and needs to grow up as a human being, and we see a lot of that in the game. But yeah, I think it's hard to judge someone's place in a European basketball system, how it's going to translate to the league. We all knew Cooper Flag was going to be a mismatch nightmare on the floor in so many types of systems and cuts. My concern about Cooper Flag, there are certain players in the league that strike me as system players. What I mean by that is when they're on the floor, they are the system. They don't play in the system. They are the system. LeBron was that. LeBron is, wherever he goes, he's the system, right? You're playing off of him. I think Cooper Flag is one of those people. So it's going to be a challenge to find the complementary players for him. The one I loved him coming out of college was Knuppel. Oh my God. My God. I saw that in the cut. And I remember watching that last year, and you're watching Flag, and then you're watching the games, and Knuppel shows up in every facet of the game. He's scoring, he's making steals, he's getting tough rebounds. and he's undersized, but the IQ was there, and he was making plays. So to see, and even that, there was no way to look at that, in my opinion, last year and see the offensive output you've seen from him this year. So that's what I talk about when I say you. It's so interesting to see how players play in different systems. We see Duke this year; they got eliminated from the tournament. All that they're a team that plays in the 60s and 70s. They're not a big up tempo team, and yet Knupel goes to the Charlotte Hornets that couldn't defend the skateboard behind you, but they like to play up tempo and score a lot of points, and he's fitting in so well. So I see. I hear what you're saying about your guy. I think it's about transition in the U.S. and the American game, and I think it says a lot about his maturity as a human being. That there's a lot to be done, and that's the problem when you get rookies in today's environment. Too rookie heavy.
Yeah, obviously year two is going to be a big year for him, but at the same time, it's got to be a year for Sean Marks where we look at him and say like you're going to have 6 first-round draft picks in 2 years. I'm expecting at least two or three of these guys to be cornerstone players,
Has to be.
and has to be. And going down the list, the only two we didn't talk too much about, Drake Powell, just haven't seen enough of him. I think his athleticism is crazy in terms of what he can be. The ball handling's there, the finishing ability, like he's got a lot of that going for him. It's just about making his presence known on the court, being a little bit more loud. He's a quiet player, and at times when he's on the court, you don't really know he's there. And then to me, Ben Saraf is just a little bit lower than all four of these guys. No jump shot, turns the ball over at least 2 to 3 times a game. Sure, he's got a decent deceleration move, and he can finish a little bit around the rim. But at this point in the NBA, if you're a guard, you need to be able to hit the three. You need to have some kind of jump shot. And up to this point, he's been very, very, very disappointing for me as well.
Not only that, I see him having challenges handling the physicality in the NBA. I'm seeing that, and some guys just aren't. Some players aren't developed. They're not ready. They're not ready for that out of the gate, and that's where a lot of the adjustments have to come. I don't think he's handling the physicality of the league very well.
I also don't think he handles the ball very well. Like he's not a good ball handler for a point guard, which drives me nuts because that at the bare minimum, you should be able to handle the ball. And he turns it over at a crazy rate. He's a frustrating player, and I wanted to like him so badly. We had when we drafted him, I had an Israeli journalist on the show who only covers the Israeli basketball league, and he
Okay.
covered Ben Saraf, and he was so high on him. Shout out to Moishe Halleckman. Yeah, that was who I had on the show. Great interview, and he was so convinced that Saraf would be good, and we'll see. I mean, the book's still out on him, but look, he's healthy, he's available. Him and Traore, and Powell are the only 3 rookies left. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I just up to this point, yeah,
Was was he the journalist or the rabbi?
he was the journalist.
I was a journalist. Okay. All right.
There is a rabbi in the mix. There, yeah, big Nets fans, by the way, which I love. We're all about Israeli Nets fans over here.
You're
Um,
comes with the
yeah.
show.
I listen. I told Moishe next time he wants to come to a Nets game, I'll take him out. We'll get some food in Brooklyn. Got some really solid Israeli. I've always wanted to try the one. Was it Laser Wolf?
I haven't been to the arena in a while. I'll tell you, it was some of the better. I don't eat kosher, but I had the kosher food there. Phenomenal, fantastic.
Really good, right? I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah,
It's a famous Israeli place in Brooklyn.
okay.
Aaron, we had a chance to do something great the other day. We had a chance to get closer to that number one
Yeah.
lottery odds, and we lost the tank-off game, which was some of the worst basketball. If anyone watched it, the game was the Nets Wizards on Sunday. The Nets win the game 121-115. The Nets were down 4 points with 3 minutes and 36 seconds left, and I was convinced that we were going to have the best odds in the lottery. We were going to have that worst record in the league because we were, I think, 1 game under Indiana, and Washington had us by a game. So it would have been huge for us, and unfortunately, we won. And this was one of what'd you say?
You had to pull the game out.
Yeah, we won. One of the worst wins of the season for the Nets. They had a chance to get that worst record. They blew it. Now the Wizards have a 2-game lead on the Nets for the best lottery odds. Now, I will say this, Aaron. The only positive I took away from this is the way we won. Nolan Traore hit a few threes. He hit a nice layup. Drake Powell had a steal and a layup. So I'm glad that guys who are actually going to be on this team next year contributed, because Jalen Wilson and hitting that three to clinch the game, he's not going to be a net next year. He's signing somebody. He's just That drove me nuts. But yeah, what'd you think of that? Us winning the tank off game?
I mean, pride comes in and sometimes at the at the worst possible time. And the guys played they played to win in a situation where you didn't want to win. And it's one of those things they'll say it won't matter to them. I will say this. It's a deeper draft with more attractive prospects this year to me than it was last year. So I actually like the odds of getting, and it doesn't mean we're not going to get the number one pick. It just means the odds
You're
are
right.
less. But it could work out a bunch of different ways. I feel that this current structure for the play-in and the tanking is not going to last. I don't think the system works well with the NBA. I think it's going to get changed, but I don't think players have adjusted really in the situation to adjust to say we've got to lose in these situations. It's just it's the NBA's preeminent problem because this year you've had unbelievable basketball at the higher levels of the game and some unbelievably poor basketball at the bottom third, and that's what we're talking about, and that's what we're seeing. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but again, it doesn't cinch when you're going to get the players and when you're going to get in the draft. But yeah, it's disappointment for Nets fans.
I get what you mean. Your pride kicks in, and obviously these wins will help the rookies hopefully later in their career, right? Guys like Traore get confidence winning games like this, no matter what the competition is. I guess the thing that drives me fucking crazy is if the Wizards have a top three pick, which they're going to get a top 3 or 4 pick. They're going to come back next year. They already have Trae Young and Anthony Davis.
Right.
They just took Trey Jones in this last draft from Texas. They're going to be able to be a competitive team in the East with an AJ DeBonsa or a Cam Boozer. Or,
Yeah.
CJ McCollum is on. Alex Sarr was a guy they took second overall a few years ago, and he's a he's becoming a very talented center in this league.
It's impressive his development the last couple of years. Agreed.
Oh, that drives me nuts because you look at the Nets. Okay, we get a top 3 or 4 pick, which we're gonna get.
Right.
Who else? Like you said, you need to build around these guys. So that really that was a bit frustrating.
There's only so many in the NBA. Show me a team in the top 5 of either conference that doesn't have a superstar. You can't find one. You can't win in this league without a superstar. The Nets have none.
Yeah.
And that's are
Yeah.
devoid of that. So give me that. I mean, like we talked about, Cooper Flag. He's going to be a Maverick for the next 15 years, and you're
Yeah.
going to be
No,
putting a
I
team around to win. And it's just a part of the deal. So we'll see where they land. But I do like the prospects of this draft more than I have probably the last 4 to 5 drafts.
got it. Okay. We're gonna get into those guys in a second. I do have a few more segments before
Okay.
we look ahead to that. This first one is I like to call it "Fuck Off, Kevin O'Connor." So Kevin O'Connor is a Yahoo Sports podcast and writer. For those unfamiliar, he has his own sports podcast called The Kevin O'Connor Show. Kind of gimmicky to name your podcast after your name, but whatever. I'm
Yeah.
not going to judge. Over the weekend, while Cooper Flag was dropping 50 plus and 40 plus in back-to-back games for the Mavericks, this is what Kevin O'Connor tweeted. The Mavericks winning the lottery is easily one of the most entertaining outcomes. Pair Cooper Flag with a co-star to grow with and become contenders to compete with OKC and San Antonio for many years to come. Fuck off, Kevin O'Connor.
Yeah. It hurts. It stings. It stings. He's not wrong though. It's a question of when I look at the Spurs, for example, or even the Thunder, I would say the Thunder to complement Shy have go 3 to 4 meaningful contributors deep, if not a little bit more. Jalen Williams has emerged. I didn't expect that out of him. Chet Holmgren. I thought Chet Holmgren was too small for the NBA. He's proven he can't be a huge scorer every night, but he can contribute. He's got solid IQ. So they go deep with the Spurs. It isn't just Wembanyama. Wembanyama's got his game, but Wembanyama's not Jordan, not Durant. He's not giving you 30 a night. So we're seeing Vassell and the other guys in the team contributing in meaningful ways. So what the question is, are you going to build a contending team of 2 superstars and then complementary, or are you going to build it with 1 and then spread it around? Or are you going to build it with 3 and then nobody else?
Right.
LeBron won with the Heat when it was 3 guys. The Warriors were 3. KD, Steph, and Clay. So that's what's going to be interesting. It is amazing after all that happens about the Luka Doncic trade, and then they end up with Cooper Flag. I mean, it's just incredible.
Sometimes the basketball gods are fickle assholes.
But who would have thought the best player in the draft was from Maine? I never thought that ever would happen. Never, never.
Yeah, yeah. No, listen, I know a lot of Nets fans listening to this are sick in their stomachs because, for a year, last year, we thought maybe Cooper Flag would be a Net. He's not. Then we thought maybe Knipple, VJ Edgecombe, some of these guys would be Nets. They're not. It is what it is, but if the Mavericks were to get the top pick again, back to back years, and then you get DeBonsa or you get I don't know, Cam Boozer, Acuff, Darren Peterson, who Darren Peterson to me has the highest ceiling out of these guys, although he does have the lowest floor based on what we saw in Kansas. It would be absolutely ridiculous. That would kill me. I don't know. There's a lot of things that would hurt me bad, but the Mavs getting a back to back number one picks would be up there.
That would hurt.
But you're talking about Knipple before. It's Knipple and Flag for Rookie of the Year right now. Who do
I
you
agree.
like?
I agree. Both on the same Duke team too.
Who you choosing?
I'm choosing Flag by a hair
By a hair, yeah.
because the Hornets have 4 or 5 guys that can put up 20 a night. So you don't. There's not one singular player you game plan against. Every team's trying to game plan against Cooper Flag, and he's still scoring, and he's still the guy. So the NBA is a stars league. NBA is a stars league.
He's an animal. Oh God, he's so good. All right, we got a congratulations in order. You brought him up earlier, but this is a big congratulations to Malachi Smith for signing a 2-year contract with the Nets on Saturday. Since the Nets' entire active roster at this point is basically two-way players from Long Island, Smith is the lucky one. He stood out 7.3 points per game, 2.1 boards per game in his 2 10-day contracts with the Nets, and he gets rewarded with a standard deal. So good for you, Malachi Smith.
Cheers. Look, this is, coming from upstate New York, Albany with the Patroons. I was familiar with all these guys gunning for a 10-day contract. It was like up their salary by 3x for the week, and it gave them a chance to make a roster and this and that. So the modern equivalent, that's the 2-way contract, and good for Malachi. He's proven his value on a team, and let's be honest, in terms of the ability to kind of be on one of the major sports league teams and ply your trade and the best type of earnings. Basketball's the leader for me. So to see Malachi get rewarded, I'm happy for him. And from what I hear, he's a pretty good kid, and someone that starts out at Wright State and ends up in the NBA. You gotta give your props. So congratulations, Malachi.
I didn't know that he started off at Wright State.
Wright State, and then Chattanooga.
Wow.
Well, this is the mark of UConn. They don't just look at talent; they look at the person. If you hear Hurley talk, he says, "We watch guys and see how do they react when they make a mistake. How do they react when their teammate makes a mistake? How do they react when a coach takes the ball away from them or does this or does that?" You got to prospect the person as much as the talent, and I don't think that happens enough in today's basketball. So I'm not surprised that Hurley saw the talent of Malachi. You wouldn't have thought a transfer from Chattanooga would contribute. He did, and now he's in the league. It's again coming from the husband of a Hoosier. We this year was another reset button, so we got to see what he does in the transfer portal. Maybe Wright State is the way to go find players, but it's crazy to see how these guys develop in their path to the league.
I gotta say, I didn't feel strongly about this one way or the other, but that convinced me that I'm actually now a lot more happy for Malachi Smith, the fact that that's his story. So thank you for sharing that with me. I love it.
I've always been a fan of these role players because of their journey. I always appreciated a Bruce Bowen, a Steven Jackson that had to go the non-traditional routes, had to go to Europe, had to go to the CBA. The guys today with the G League. You got it. The kid on the Warriors, I love this, Pat Murphy.
Pat, what's his name? It's Spencer.
Not Murphy. Spencer. Sorry, Spencer. Spencer. Lacrosse player in college. There's got to be like an all cross-sport athlete team like Chris Hogan from the Patriots. And he played lacrosse at Monmouth, and then he plays football at Monmouth, lacrosse for 1 year at Notre Dame or Duke or whatever, and he ends up in the NFL. With the best quarterback of all time, Pat Spencer, this kid, a 4-year starter at Loyola, Maryland for lacrosse, makes the Warriors, and he's going to stick. You got to appreciate guys like that.
No, I love it. I love it. All right, we're talking a little college hoop. Looking ahead, is there anybody in the top five in terms of this year's upcoming draft class that you really do not want to see the Nets take? And on the flip side, who is the guy that you would love to see on this Nets roster next year?
I would stay away from Peterson. I personally
Okay.
would stay away from Peterson. He has the most talent, and I think we're already seeing he has the most issues about his character, the most question marks about his character. When you're doing that in a shortened season at a school like Kansas, and someone who did not show up in the big games in the NCAA tournaments as well as we would have liked to have seen, to me, those are red flags. And I just see that as, I won't ever pinch myself for saying I didn't draft that guy because, character shows no matter if things are perfect, if they're not perfect, if the talent rises above the top. And I just don't, I'd rather get a Zuby Ejiofor than whether you need him or not, than a Peterson. The one I love, I think he's a stud. I think he's a lock. I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer. Maybe there. I want Acuff. I
Wow.
want Acuff.
Okay.
I think Acuff is going to be an animal in the league, just a beast.
So I like that answer. It's very funny you said that because I started to really like him, and throughout the year, I'm not the biggest Calipari guy in terms of being a fan, but I acknowledge that when Calipari gets his hands on a freshman point guard, he usually makes them elite, and those guys usually end up great in the NBA. So I was pretty high on him, and then all I heard from everybody was, well, he's too small, and you
Right.
can't build a team around a guard that's too small, and the defense isn't there. Well, look across the fucking river. I mean, what the hell are the New York Knicks doing? Their best players, Jalen Brunson. So why, if it works for them, why can't it work for us?
Isn't Steph Curry 6'1"?
Yeah,
Am I
yeah, one of the
mistaken?
greatest players in the last decade. So
Am
no,
I
I'm with
mistaken?
you. I think and the only, it's not really an issue, but the only sort of hesitation I have with Acuff is, do you pair him with Traore, or does Traore just automatically become your backup point guard?
I think he becomes your backup point guard because he doesn't scare me. He doesn't create enough opportunity off the dribble, more like Acuff. Acuff's a threat every possession to go to the hole and to kick. You get a guy like Acuff, you gotta give him shooters. If
Yeah.
you get shooters on that team with a guy like Acuff, his first step is so quick. He's got great angle, and he's also slightly angular. What's made Jalen Brunson so successful all these years. It's the fact he's got that lefty angular game to him. Acuff's got a little bit of that, but he's so quick and he can score.
He is really good. What do you think about the other three guys in the top five? So DeBonsa, Boozer, and then Caleb Wilson out of UNC.
DeBonsa, I think is a unique mismatch because he's 6 foot. What is he? 6'9". He's
He's
six
6'9".
nine. He's 6'9" with the righty lefty game. He's angular. He can shoot the three. He can post you up. I think he's a danger on all parts of the floor. Is there any one part of his game that I think is utterly dominant? Not necessarily. So I think this year's draft, the key to this year's draft versus others is that you've got a lot of B plus A minuses up top. You don't have A's and A pluses, but you have a lot of B pluses and A's and A minuses. I see. DeBonce is there. Boozer. Boozer's one of those. We're gonna have to wait and see. He reminds me of a poor man's Boncaro, Paulo, a little bit. I think
Really
his
interesting.
game
Okay.
is. I love Paulo out of college. Oh, I thought he was a stud, and he's proven to be right. I don't think Boozer has enough ability to see that. Again, you're in a league. You got to look at these guys at Duke. ACC isn't what it was 5-10 years ago. It's a down league, a down year. Like until Syracuse puts up and Carolina stays healthy with the new coach. By the way, quick shout out, fantastic hire today. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, Mike Malone.
Mike Malone, he likes up-tempo basketball. That's why Carolina's going to go for him. He was the out-of-the-box guy. I thought they should go for Mark Byington. Vanderbilt liked him a lot. I'm okay with it. But Malone, that's a unique fit because he's coaching the pros. He's won. And with the day of the NIL, I think he can coach in that environment. And it's up-tempo basketball. So I love the hire. But the ACC just doesn't have the depth of skill. It's the Big Ten and the SEC
Yeah.
the last 2 or 3 years.
So you think Boozer's okay? So you think Boozer's a little overrated right now? What
I
about
think
Caleb
Boozer.
Wilson?
I don't want to say overrated. I'm skeptical.
Skeptical. Okay.
I'm skeptical. Caleb Wilson. We've got to see what's what after his injury. We've got to see how
Yeah.
much it slows him down. The ability's there. He's got to improve his shooting, but I love the fact that he fills the stats. He's going to get you 20 points. He's going to get you 10 rebounds. He's going to get you a few assists. So I do like that ability. I think Wagler might be the best competitor in the draft.
Illinois, right? The
Illinois.
point. Yeah, I watched him a little bit.
I love the story, how he
Yeah.
worked to get where he is. And, they were beaten by UConn. Kid didn't give up.
Yeah, no, he was the only one who showed up.
Only one that really showed up from that perspective. So I like the consistency out of him. And I think he's I'm one of those guys in this situation. I don't think if I had to pick in the top 5 or 6, I would take Peterson. I don't think I would.
Interesting.
I'll get land-based support and probably lose my job, but I wouldn't take him.
I'm with you on Acuff. I think he's going to be a stud. I'd be happy with either him or DeBonsa. Like if we have a top 2 pick, I'm going DeBonsa.
Yes.
I watched a lot of BYU basketball this year, and DeBonsa is a very interesting player. There's a lot, and I do feel like there's the next level he can take to his game. So I look at him, I see like the Tracy McGrady type of player and that kind of athlete. So we'll see, but exciting stuff. We won't know until May.
What DeBonsa gets you is threats on different parts of the floor. You can't guard him one way. He can move without the ball to collect and score. He can post up and score, and he can shoot the 3. So he can beat you on different parts of the floor, which is unlike others in the draft, like other contributors. But that's what I do like about him. But I think Luxembourg, I'm excited to see where he can end up in the league. He's lanky, he's lean for guys that are outside the top 10. I think there's some interesting possibilities from what he can do in the league.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about DeBonta, I'll take it a step further. I think he's an underrated passer. I think he set up a lot of his teammates at BYU this year to get them going. And they might have made a run if I think the kid Richie Saunders didn't get hurt early in the year because he was a player too.
Yep. Well, that team's run. I'm sure you'd agree with this. That team is run like a pro team. Kevin.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
They run like basically an NBA farm system.
They are. I have a friend who's very close with a BYU alum, and I hear everything about the program. This is a kid who ordered a Jaeger Joman Nets jersey from Europe because the Nets weren't selling it, so he went out of his way. But yeah, no, that's what I hear in terms of how it's run, and it's just strictly basketball there. Like those guys aren't drinking, they're not partying, they're not looking for girls. It's eat, sleep, hang out, talk hoop, etc. So
you can't at Brigham Young. You get thrown out of school.
You can't. I know. We've seen it.
That's what happens. You get a Jewish guy on the football team, and he gets thrown out of school for having sex. What are you going to do?
Right. I know. I know. Not kosher at all. Yeah. Let's talk Knicks for a second because this is a Nets pod, and we got to acknowledge the Manhattan foe across the river. I got to ask you, which team do you want to see the Knicks face in the first round who has the most potential for an upset? So we got the Hawks, the 76ers, the Toronto Raptors, the Orlando Magic, the Charlotte Hornets, the Miami Heat.
Hawks. It's an entertaining style of basketball that's counter to the way of the Knicks. The Knicks' recent stretch is what I was waiting for all year. I don't understand why you get rid of a Thibodeau to get a Mike Brown. I never understood it. I wasn't for it. I didn't get it. I think this is what you're going to see. He's got to get to the conference finals to at least justify the selection. And the thing is, even if he doesn't, they're kind of screwed. They can't fire him after year one, after what they did. I just didn't understand why you get rid of a Tom Thibodeau for a Mike Brown. It's not an upgrade. It's simply not.
I think they got too cute when they made the Bridges trade. I think they had something really special with that unit before. Right. You mortgage 5 first-round picks. You get rid of DiVincenzo, and I mean, how much better is Mikal Bridges than DiVincenzo? I guess it's hindsight now, but like at the time, I guess he was could DiVincenzo on the Nets do what Mikal Bridges was doing? Probably.
I think DiVincenzo's done what he's done, no matter the team he's on.
Right.
He's found a way to contribute. The reason the Knicks reconstituted that roster, I mean, Bridges was a byproduct. He was a victim of it, but it was Randall. You couldn't win at the highest level with Randall. I liked Randall out of college. He takes too many bad shots and he's a defensive liability. You had to reconstitute the team if you wanted to win at the highest level. This is New York. Unless you're getting the conference final, NBA final, win a title, it's been so long, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And the Hawks are also defeating conventional wisdom. And Trae Young just continues to perform. He, undersized, like we talked about, undersized. He still is an expert at getting off his shot, scoring. Jalen Johnson's been a bit
Well,
of a
they
revelation.
got rid of Trae Young.
Oh, I'm thinking of oh God, right. I'm thinking
You
of
thinking of McCollum
thank
or
you. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, my bad.
We got so no, the Hawks, they got two guys. They got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who actually has 36 points right now against the Knicks with 2 minutes left in that game.
Beautiful.
They got CJ McCollum. That was the trade they made for Trae Young. They got
Old
CJ
school.
McCollum out of
Right,
yeah.
CJ McCollum. Sorry, old school, right. Yeah.
No, Lehigh alum. Shout out to
Yeah.
Lehigh.
Shout out mid majors.
Oh, the Knicks are up two with 2 minutes left. I hope they lose. But anyway, yeah, no, if I had to pick a team for them to play out of those teams I listed, the Hawks are intriguing. I'd love to see the 76ers get revenge on them
Right.
from, was it 2 years? 2 years ago when
Years
DiVincenzo hit
ago.
that shot. Yeah, I would love to see them face them as the sixth seed or whatever the seed and just freaking somehow upset them. That would be, oh God, that would be such a full circle moment for me.
Another, Joel Embiid, unfortunately for me, is the modern day Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
I never thought he could win at the highest level simply because of how the team would have to pace their game to get the most out of him. That was my issue. If I don't know if you and I have a bit of an age gap.
Nah,
Good
that's not too bad.
You're not
Probably
too bad.
1, 2 or 3 years.
I wish, but the Grays are more of a present. But when you watch that team, the strike shortened season, every possession down the floor was Spreewell and Camby, and they're waiting for Patrick.
Yeah.
They're waiting for Patrick. And it was the difference in the end against the Spurs. And I feel the same thing with Embiid. You can't build a winning team in the NBA anymore with a guy that's going to miss 15 games a year.
Right.
It doesn't happen. I'm a Knicks supporter, former Knicks supporter, or at least living in the city and paying attention. I never wanted Porzingis.
Right.
You know what I mean? He won in Boston because he was the fifth or sixth most important player on the floor.
Well, look at the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard. I mean, they mortgaged so much into this guy. He misses a million games a year. They haven't been a real threat in the West since Chris Paul was there.
Nope, not at all. So, yeah, I'm with you. Miami's always intriguing just because I still think they have one of the top 2 or 3 coaches in the NBA. I think Spoelstra is just at the ultimate level. I hated all the flack that Bam Adebayo got for the game, the big game. Like, what's the problem? Let the guy score. What's your problem? The Wolves is terrible. Come on.
Yeah, my issue with it was against the Wizards who are actively trying to lose.
Oh yeah.
So then you had that combination of Bam having the game of his life.
Yeah.
But the Wizards are also actively kind of like they're not even really trying. It was just I think the optics of it were bad. But I'm with you in the sense that like let the guy score 83 and enjoy it.
What's it matter?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but the Wizards have been tanking for 20 years. So what's the difference?
Right.
They've been tanking for 20 years.
Right.
So yeah.
Looks like the Knicks are going to pull this game out. They're up 2 with 5 seconds left, and I think Atlanta just missed a shot to tie the game. But whatever,
That's another
it's a regular
beautiful
season
example
game.
where college basketball their paths are. Alexander Walker, you're talking about before. Who would have expected this big of a contributor out of Virginia Tech?
Monster for Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I like his game a lot.
I've also been a Buddy Held fan for years. I don't know why. I just always like Buddy.
Where's he right now? He's
on the Hawks.
Oh, he is on the Hawks. He was part of the Porzingis trade.
Yep.
I'm with you. All right.
Go ahead.
No. What were you gonna say?
I was saying ex-Hawk, but my arch rival high school, Kevin Herter.
Really?
Yes, upstate New York. Shenandoah. I was Shaker. We had one alumni in the NBA for vintage NBA fans. The big smooth Sam Perkins.
Wow. So Sam Perkins, your high school.
My high school. He was imported from Brooklyn. We got him out. He came to upstate New York. Mom didn't want him to get in trouble. Remember when we still remember, and people talk about it in town when Dean Smith came to Albany, New York to watch a basketball game. That was a big deal.
Wow. Dean Smith, Sam Perkins, and then Kevin Herter went to the rival, is what you said.
So Shaker High School was my school. And then our arch rival was Shenandoah. 3 grades in high school, 5,000 students.
Wow.
Huge school.
Kevin Herter, current Detroit Piston, for those who don't know.
Talk about a kid who's landed on Easy Street. And I will even say from draft experts, Caleb Cunningham has exceeded my expectations.
Yeah. Nice player. I had a bet on him to win MVP, Cunningham, and then he had the collapsed lung and totally fucked it up for me. But I'm not mad at him. I don't get mad at guys for when their lung collapses. I just would have liked to see him win.
I
All
mean,
right,
you try to be at least human. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I try. It's hard sometimes.
You
We
try.
got one more segment to close it
Please.
out. We're gonna have a little fun here. I call this Parm Talk. So I'm a massive foodie for those who listen to the show. Aaron himself fancies himself a foodie,
Sorry,
and he was
buddy.
telling me about a chicken vodka parm he had tonight that was apparently delicious. So I want to start there, but then I also want to get into the debate chicken vodka parm versus the OG chicken parm.
Yeah. One of my local places, shout out JR's, West End Long Branch. Just a fantastic spot that just serves really good comfort food or healthy food. You can have a good salad, you can have a cheesesteak wrap, you can have appetizers, great stuff. And they're the first place I've seen to make chicken vodka parm in a wrap.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's tremendous vodka sauce. The chicken's well cooked, and with the wrap, you don't feel as heavy. And that's another reason for me. I go chicken vodka parm over OG chicken parm because you just don't feel as heavy after you eat it.
Do they toast the wrap? Does it have a
Oh,
little
yes, they
toast
do.
work?
Matter of fact, they
Okay.
do. That's a
I
great
like
call.
that. A lot
That's a
of
great
places
call.
don't toast the wrap.
You make a good point.
Um,
That's a good point. Yep, yep, yep. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
I,
Yeah,
I go back and forth on this. Obviously the chicken vodka parm, it's newer, it's more trendy. People have a little bit more fun with it. I had a sandwich the other day from Urban Tomato. We talked about it recently off the
urban
pod.
tomato.
Urban Tomato. They had it was chicken vodka. They cut the cutlets up and they put stracciatella cheese, which is
Ooh.
the filling inside of burrata. For those who don't know, it was insane. But I gotta say, Aaron. I don't want the OG chicken parm with just the marinara sauce and the mozzarella. I don't want that to be forgotten because it's still an incredible sandwich. When a place does a perfect chicken parm, and sometimes I feel like the chicken vodka it overshadows the original.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Sometimes we fear change, but again, I just think if it's done right, it for me it's a more full tasting sandwich. Even my 6-year-old, she prefers it. So yeah, and shout out by the way, I don't know if you follow them on social media. Another one in my area. I happen to live in a very rich area for great food, comfort, high end, great stuff. Shout out to Talercio's Deli in Middletown. It turns out this social media juggernaut that is Talercio's, the owner Eric, the personality, his daughter and my daughter are in the same kindergarten class. I kid you not. I kid you
I
not.
I knew when you said I knew you were going to Laris. They're the hottest place in terms of social media sandwich porn that you're
Yes.
gonna see. You'd have to not be on social media and not look at
Right.
any food content to have not seen their stuff. I haven't tried it yet. When I go down there, here's my thing: because if I go down there, I have a whole sandwich like that. I'm gonna be dead for the whole day.
Oh
So I gotta
yeah.
have like half of it, walk around, give some to the dog, do something. I don't know.
Well, I'll share it with you. So
There you
that'll
go.
make it you don't need to threaten me with a good time twice. But no, it's also because Eric's just built something tremendous with that restaurant. He gets social media, and he's a good dude. He's good for the community, and I think. But it's just a fun place. But to your point, uh, from I get you don't want to overshadow the OG. For me, it's meatball parm over chicken parm. For
I'm with
me,
you on that. I'm with you on. No, I'll agree with
me,
that. A good
yeah.
meatball parm. I'd actually put a good meatball parm sandwich over chicken vodka.
I think I would too. I think
Yeah,
I would too. I
yeah.
think I would.
We have a place. This is the last thing I'll say. We'll close it out. We have a place in I think it's Carlstadt, New Jersey.
Yep.
Pizza More. That
Mm.
guy boasts the best meatball parm sandwich in the state. He's won awards for it. Um, it's very good. I don't know if I would agree that it's the best meatball parm sandwich I've had in New Jersey, but it's close. It's easy. It's a vibe in there. The guy's freaking awesome. I actually ran into him at a Thai restaurant a few weeks ago, which was very funny because I recognized him. We started talking. He's like, "It's okay to sometimes, eat the food that isn't Italian and the meat." It
Right,
was it was just
right.
it was a funny conversation. But yeah, shout out to Pizza More in Carlstadt. It's really good. It is, and I think he has a food truck as well that he runs out of Lyndhurst. But Aaron, man, thanks for coming on the pod. This was fun.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Anytime.
Any final words for the Nets listeners out there?
Just next year in the playoffs. We
Next year
always
in the
get hopeful.
playoffs.
Next year, the playoffs. We hope there's still some of the best uniforms in the league, and I think Fernandez might be a diamond in the rough if he can get the talent, the roster built a little bit better. So, Mr. Marks, pay attention.
From Aaron's mouth to God's ears, Nets in the playoffs next year. This was another edition of Spenny and the Nets, episode 249. Thanks to everyone for listening.